recess, it is 2:00.
Look at that signature.
Yeah.
We've had the public hearing, resolution earlier. For now. Do you want to add any more on that resolution that we talked about earlier?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second that motion.
It's been, motion been made and seconded to approve the resolution to uphold MCA 7-4-2708 regarding hiring personal attorney decision. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Franklin, the resolution needs to be signed by her.
Right beside you. Here.
Thank you.
You want to ask anybody else that knows what Brenda said that is not her bill. She just come through here
This
while.
is she got it back. Said it's not hers.
This is related to the settlement, and hopefully that'll get taken care of soon. Corey, I don't know if you're aware of this, we did a updating of our internet, new server, and we're now with DIS as an IT company. Before that, we had no IT. We were one of the few counties in the state without any kind of IT, other than an employee who volunteered her time. So DIS came in, they did the new server, rewired everything, came to the commission and through Doug and said, you know what, we can save you a lot of money by switching your email to this other account through CenturyLink. We said, yes, let's go ahead and do it. Brenda's lawsuit came in and DIS said, we don't want to continue this because we could get wrapped up in this lawsuit. So now we have two different companies providing internet for emails. And the question is who should pay for the second amount or the second bill, since we're kind of out there on both. I'm not asking you for your opinion on this one because it is more managerial, but I am just saying once this is settled for good, it would be nice for us to be able to just have one email company, start saving the county money in that way as well. But our hands are tied until the final settlement. So if you could let us know as soon as you have word back from Jane, that would be great. And then we can take care of this. I don't know who pays it. That's up to argument with the commission. So what do you guys think?
Well, according to Brenda, it's not hers, so.
I don't remember seeing anything in any of the lawsuit documents about internet service.
No,
It was all pay and budget, so I don't know how it's relevant to the agreement.
We have two different internet services because the switchover had to be stopped halfway because they didn't want to get wrapped up in the lawsuit. And there was a FOIA request for all documentation of all kinds with anything at all pertaining to the sheriff's department. And Michelle Quiggery directed us and helped write a memo to all employees letting them know that. So that's why we have this extra bill. Again, it's not necessarily something to do with the lawsuit other than we couldn't commit to the change because of the lawsuit. So we have the two companies and we're paying in full for both. So we're kind of stuck paying on both until we have a settlement and DIS says, yeah, since it's settled, we'll go ahead and move forward.
There was an email, according to Garrett, I talked to Garrett like 2 weeks ago, and the part of it was the not to losing email
Right.
communication, and they couldn't guarantee that no emails be lost. so, through the transfer. So, that was Garrett's explanation to me.
Okay.
I'll tell Brendan to catch up to you then. Once you have a chance.
Yeah, we'll see each other in about 30 minutes.
We're a little ahead of schedule, but I think we can go ahead and we can start giving your update and reports.
All right, should we come
Kind
up?
of scary when
If
you
you
look
want
at
to,
the
yeah.
size of that book.
That's only one.
This is only part of it. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I asked Under Sheriff Meehan to join me on this. We just wanted to give you an update of kind of where the horses are, where things are happening right now. The criminal cases themselves, there's some things that are finally happening. I'll talk about those in a minute. But before we do that, I was gonna let Wynn start with just a little bit about the costs to date in terms of caring for the horses, how we're currently caring for the horses, kind of ongoing demands, et cetera. I also have here a binder. This is evidence for the criminal case, but we can look through it. And what this does is it has a section for each of the horses. And so you can see photos. This is it looks like an after photo after they're doing better, but there's information about all the various horses. All this stuff's been provided to the Defense Council, so it's going to be used if we ever get to trial, and when we get to trial, it'll be used in trial. But so if you want to flip through that a little bit, and you want to just take it away, start talking about the horses themselves.
I mean, this report that I got
We'll be
from,
quick.
No, I'm just kidding.
from the accounting office on it, I mean, when I look back, I mean, it says that we're, there's a fund total, grand total $248,350.77. And I had a discussion with Commissioner over Thursday, and said, I don't think that's correct. And I think there's some added, there's 3 sheets on this, and they all kind of just repeat themselves. So I think that we're probably in the 80,000, 85,000, somewhere in there, I would fathom. Vet bills right now, not counting the one from Friday when I had the vet out. I got one here for $217, from some follow-up from when Asha got caught in the fence and tore her leg up. They had to do a bunch of stitches and everything else with her. Then Asha's, I don't know which one she is in there, she's in a little bay mare, I believe. And then I had to have the vet out on Friday to sedate Trace, so we get her treated. She just wants to fight. 6 studs are still at the fairgrounds, they're still doing well. Hopefully we have a status hearing here on February 6th. Is it 6th?
Yes.
And hopefully we can get some forward progression
This
with that, yes.
Right.
I'd like to be able to get to a point where it's still cold out and we get those things castrated. It would ease up our load a little bit. Just because we could actually put them somewhere else at that point. We're gonna have, depends on how long this goes on, we might have to find some different ground at some point. We've had them out of Welch's since into August, majority of them. There's 17 out there right now. John is the 2 that are Gray Cloud and Ready, which have been very controversial horses. Those are both in the sheriff's office name. Those are out of John's. John's not charging us to board those.
Why is that?
Gray Cloud's got penile cancer. And so the options are is we go and do that surgery or just live out his days. And John's more apt just to say let him live out his days. Ready's just a very difficult horse to deal with. He's very dangerous. He's the one that actually pulled my shoulder apart trying to get him loaded in the trailer. He's the one that's destroyed more things trying to get him moved than he's done anything else. So he's a dangerous horse. And at some point we'll have to make some decisions on him as well.
How old is he?
We believe he's 11. So he's at gelding. He's just been mistreated. He came to us in bad shape in March. We got him up to health and released him back to the owners after the welfare hearing in May. And they felt Gump, who's the colt we have in our custody, him and his mother are both in my house. He just got weaned off of her this weekend. He's not very happy with me. Sucks to be him. But he's gonna, at some point, he's gonna have to get cut as well. Fred and Lucky are up at Dusty's, and most people don't understand why Fred's up there is because Fred can walk over John's fences, because he's a big horse. And so he's up there where he isn't walking over the jackpole fences like he does everywhere else. He's a big percheron, and then Lucky's just a pasture mate for him. But the rest of the horses are John's. Waylon, the little mini horse, the little mini stud, broke out of his cell this morning and got himself in with the mares. And so hopefully we got that remedied this morning as well. And then Shy, our blind horse, is still there as well. So Waylon and Shy are both in the stalls in the barn. And Waylon's just because Waylon's a pain. Looking at total cost, for hay wise, we spent a lot of money on hay. We've had a lot of hay donated. A lot of the hay that we've had donated has been, unfortunately, of very poor quality. And it ends up, a lot of it is going to waste. They don't eat it. And so it's been very difficult to kind of, we've picked up all the donations that people have offered to us. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of expense to go pick it up and get it stacked up and moved and everything, and then it comes down where they pick through it, and most of it sits on the ground. And so that's been a very difficult aspect. We spent about $21,000 in hay purchase since last year. Looks like it, just from the report from our we spent $1,331 as of this is for calendar year 2014 for feed. For that, part of that was the goats, and since the goats aren't in
What
that,
was that number?
1331
For feed other than hay?
feet other than hay. And that's as of December 31st. I don't know what we have this year, but we had that goat feed that we were doing, and we were doing a lot of senior equine. And we had Della and Shy at the fairgrounds, and we're trying to get those guys up to speed, and the Bellstar and Ranger, who were both, we put Bellstar Ranger down. It was in February, May, we put those two horses down. But all those horses that were really that high 1 to low 2 number, there were a lot of them getting senior equine or getting some sports special feed to kind of help their healing process, I guess you'd want to call it. So that number shouldn't see a lot. The vet report, I'm hoping that we won't be through with horses by June, because all their shots and vaccinations are coming back up. Total vet bill between, as far as I can tell, going through this is we're looking just about $10,000, and that's including the procedures we had for Gump down at the Montana Equine Center and Trace and Gump. When he was born, she had a whole bunch of problems too, and so that 14-day stay there is a big part of that. The farriers, a lot of our farriers donated their time out of the gate there for a while. We were only, as far as I can tell, going through this, we're about $1,000 in farrier services. The two at my house were just done on Friday, so they're gonna be good until April. I believe Dusty got those done last month. I think late December, early January, so they're gonna be good until March or April. We had a bunch done in December, I think. November. Marcus came up and did like 16 of them. I think it was in, where is he? Looks like November. He came up and did like 16 of the horses. So there's some that need to get done again. And so, we're looking at $35 a horse on that. That's just dollars to it.
You're not putting shoes on,
No,
you're just trimming.
Just trimming. And then, we're, the feed, the way we were hoping for things to work out, obviously it didn't happen. We weren't expecting the cold weather to come in like it did, and it did. And so, our feed, we got 13 big bales the fairgrounds, we've got, I don't even know how much we have down in the one bunk, and then we have more in another one. So probably, I'm assuming, probably about March, we're gonna have to get hay again. So, but as long as everything, kind of stays as it is right now, we'll be okay. So, that's about all I have. I mean,
So what was the total? What was the total?
for which one?
Well,
Overall.
Well, and that's where this report's a little confusing. I'm looking at the one account, account total is saying, 88,236.72, but then it comes down to, it says fund total and grand total, 248,350.77. And I just don't see where we spent $250,000 on anything. And so I'm just-
248,000.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that it looks like it's just kind of a repeat. Through the way they did the report, it looks like it's just a repeat over and over, just, and so they've added it all up, is kind of the gist I'm getting. Because I've gone through it, and everything that's on this front one here, is kind of, added on in these other ones as well.
Who's that from?
This is from, can't remember if I got it from Debbie or from Tammy, one of the two.
Okay.
The other thing there's probably gonna be some differences in this first part of this report, and the reason why I went through it was because Corey asked about feed vets and things of that nature. When you get in this further report, where there's probably gonna be some discrepancies, is because you have the workers' comp for the volunteers. When we had volunteers back in the day, there's also, back in the day, we were writing down a lot of the hours, you have all the time that the deputies have put in, the cleaning, all that ensemble that goes in there, so, we're even looking at benefits and everything else, so, there's a lot to this report. I'm still trying to figure out how to work this system. It's a little different than what we had before. And like everything else, the Rocky Mountain Supply, I just pulled it off I just pulled the year-end summary off, so, and that's, some of the fuel that's on there, that's probably part of the horse rescue stuff for skid steers or whatever equipment we used. I know we filled up, when we use a big front end loader and stuff like that, so, and then we have fencing supplies and all that jazz as well, so,
Do the owners have any money to be able to?
There's also been a pile of claims from the volunteers for mileage.
Yeah, we had to go to Helena Billings. We did, part of that one hay purchase we did, looks like in May of last year from Pat Trammell, there was a $7,300 bill just in hay, and then there was, 3-4 trucks, 2 U-Hauls. That was a fairly significant amount of hay. I can't remember how much hay we ended up buying from him.
The volunteers are feeding the horses too, there was a lot of mileage on that.
Yep, and then about, I'm gonna say probably into June, early July, a lot of volunteers just kind of quit and deputies kind of took it over.
So that wouldn't be shown on that then, would it?
Well,
Or is it?
I think it is. Frankly, there's, it's just, I just don't, I don't understand this real well. But there's things in here for workers' comp, unemployment, Medicaid, or, it just, if I really sat down and kind of took a crash course in how to understand this, I might have a better understanding.
So, one thing that might help, because that's a big difference between 88,000 and 250,000 for what our total would be. It might help if you just sat down with one of the accounting folks and we could get you a number, which number we think is where we're actually at. If it's repeating, then obviously that's not gonna be accurate for you. So what I understand, and correct me if any of this is wrong, but so I understand right now, we've still got 17 with Mr. Walsh. We've got 6 at the fairgrounds, that's
Yep.
5 horses and the donkey, is that correct?
Yep.
two that Dusty's caring for, the large Percheron and,
Yep.
and two that you got, which includes the colt that you just weaned.
Yep.
Two of them were put down.
Yep.
And then,
All the goats were,
there were 5 goats seized, 7 kids were born, and those have all been dismissed from the case and are gone.
fostered out.
They're off the books.
Yep.
Okay. And then there were 13 dead animals on the property, and 11 of those have been confirmed as horses. Is that accurate? Okay. So,
But that was out of the graves we dug up.
yeah, that's what I mean, the graves. So where we are, right now, we've got, we're feeding these horses, that's a lot, I didn't add them up, but that's a lot. 17, 23, 25, 27 still, is that right?
Yep.
That we're still feeding 7 days a week. And so with the volunteers that stuck with it initially, and now we're in a pretty long haul, so we've got deputies feeding these horses, watering them. When it's the time to get them trimmed, they're the ones helping the farrier do the trimming. If there's a vet problem, they're the ones that are kind of taking care of that. So that's, I think it's eaten into our manpower in terms of the sheriff's office force, law enforcement duties. And then we are still paying to board these horses at all these places. So as I understand, we've got around $1,900 a month we're paying for boarding. And so I think it's great that the farriers have donated so much of this work, but they're not gonna keep donating it forever, because you gotta trim these horses, especially the horses that are on reef. There's, that's, they don't stay in business if they're donating all their work. So my goal is to move us to a solution here. We're gonna have a status conference this coming Friday in the Brindle criminal case. And the judge has granted he's denied the motion to suppress the search warrants, which means all the searches, all that evidence there is good and can be used in trial. So now we can move into the trial prep for Miss Rindle. We still don't know where Jesper is. And the court also granted the motion for Rindle's lawyer to quit, and so a new lawyer is going to be appointed, probably a public defender. So we're gonna have me as a brand new lawyer on the prosecution side, and then a defense lawyer that's gonna be brand new. So unfortunately, what that means is for a trial calendar, a case this big is not gonna go to trial right away. They'll have to have motions and time to prep and interview all the witnesses and all that stuff. So I'm gonna move this along as quickly as I can, but it's not gonna be instantaneous. I've got a few creative ideas of how we can deal with some of the financial costs of it, but I've got to convince the judge on that, so I've got some work cut out for me to do that. But in the meantime, what I'm trying to do, number one, is just give you an awareness of, that certainly from the sheriff's office point of view and from mine, this isn't forgotten, because they're living it every day, and I'm dealing with binders and binders. So we're gonna move towards a solution, so to unencumber us on some of this money. I'm also looking for some nonprofit grants out there that may help us recoup some of this money and do some other things to help us out. So as I get farther down the road on those things, I'll update you. But for the time being, I just want you to know that we're taking this seriously, and we're gonna move it towards the right resolution for the case and the right financial situation for the county.
What's the chance that the judge will say you can't sell these horses?
Well, he's ruled previously, we've had 3 different animal welfare hearings in this case last year, and in the last one, he said that absent evidence to the contrary, the horses are considered co-owned by both Jesberger and Rindle, which presents a problem for us even if we could reach a deal with Rindle and Jesberger not being around, completely gone, to get a release. So that's one of the creative things I'm working on. The other thing that I'm looking at, as you mentioned, is assets of the defendants, but the fact that she's getting a public defender and the fact that Jesberger already has a public defender tells you a fair amount about the financial situation.
What about, can you go through the livestock? I would think there's some avenues, and they'd be turned over to the county or shipped out, just get rid of them. I mean,
There are some different things. I mean, so from the research I've done to this point, there are various animal welfare statutes around the country that do give a court more authority to seize animals or dispose of them as far as if the defendant that's charged doesn't put up enough money to care for them. Montana's didn't have that specific provision, and that seems to be what caused the judge to make the decisions he made last year. Because it didn't, by statute, say they can be seized or shipped or sold or whatever if they don't have enough money to provide for their care. Having said that, there is a provision that allows the court to order them moved to a animal care or animal sanctuary facility. You know, the ironic thing is that that's what Rocky Acres was supposed to be, but to get to there, we've got to do some homework in order to convince the judge of that. Not only that, but we have to have a place that would potentially take them. And at this point, I don't know that that's one of the things I'm looking at.
You know, it's probably a little different in a way, but in the way it is, in Gallatin County, they seized about 100 head last spring. It's just, I think it's about the same, this horse thing.
Sir, was that in Billings?
No,
No,
it was cows, cows up out of Clarkston.
Out of Clarkson there, they took them all down to the stockyards there and stuff, and they started taking care of them. A few ranchers went there and looked at it and said, hey, there's nothing wrong with these. I saw them on TV when it showed them. I couldn't see anything wrong with any on that excerpt they had on TV, and boy, all of a sudden, bang, they're taken back to that rancher, and there was I think he's with the stock department, livestock, on TV, and kind of tried to smooth things over.
Well,
So-
there's a lot to that. Yeah, there was some threats.
And I don't think we're in that department. Everyone agrees these horses were, I mean, the fact that we've had to put down 2 and there were 13 dead.
Yeah, but I mean, could you find, I don't know if there's any, what circumstances took place where they could, of course, in this case, they give them back to the rancher.
Yeah.
So Corey and Wynn, is the reason that we have had to care for these horses and haven't been able to adopt them out or find something else, does it go back to these people are innocent until proven guilty, and that's why we have to hold on to them? Until essentially what they say, it's okay for you to sell them, or they're found
Yeah.
guilty? Is that what we have to wait on?
If they forfeited them, you know, that's what we tried last year, when Carla was here, is try to make a deal with them where they forfeit the animals and the restitution level is stopped, because under the law right now is that whatever, from the time they're seized until they're forfeited, the defendant's responsible for that restitution. Neither one would go for it. I think Daleen would have, but Tom didn't want to. And so now Tom's gone in the wind and we don't know where he's at. But, you know, the way the statute is right now, and that's why I was up at legislation trying to get them to pass the Cost Animal Care Act, and they said it's a little different. But, and then that was that whole thing, is to clarify that, to give the judge the authority to say, look, either pay for your animals or they're gonna be forfeited and we're gonna get rid of them. And try to eliminate that burden that's on the taxpayer. Unfortunately, every case that I can think of right now, Toole County's case with the Border Collies deal was $1 million it cost them. Jefferson County, $675,000. The problem is that you have to go through and the way the forfeiture process, it's all within the sentencing guidelines. It's not before then. You have to find guilty, and then the judge has to order the forfeiture of them, and it just complicates it. And so, you know, we're stuck. It's a double-edged sword. You walk on either way. You know, and that was one of the things that was very tough, because people don't understand how many complaints, how many calls, how many times we've been out to Rocky Acres trying to get them to do the right thing, and they won't listen. And then it eventually comes down to a point where we have to intervene, even though we try not to. And now we're sitting here going, we're all tired forces. I mean, it's very time consuming. So
How did Leachman's down in Billings, were they able to sell all those horses?
Well, he had one defendant rather than 2, and he was there the whole time. And then the rest of it I don't know, because it was before I was into the world of caring about animal cruelty cases, but I think that was part of the deal. I also think it was federal, wasn't it?
yeah, he had, and a lot of his horses were on tribal ground, and so the tribe seized them, and that's a whole different, we have no government right there, and so they were able to get rid of most of them. the nice thing is I was talking with Sheriff Linders on Friday, up at the Capitol when we were on the sheriff's first bill. He said that he made a phone call to a friend, and he rolled in 100-ton, 12 hours after they had seized those horses, 100-ton hay full of ready to go. And I know the American War Horse Association got involved in, and there was lots of hay being donated in very high quantities, very quickly. So, that's,
So in that case, I think those are some pretty good horses.
Yeah.
Here, all these are a bunch of canners, they should have been done away with.
Well, I don't know about that, because some of them were owned by other people who were trying to get them
And
back.
yeah, well, that's fine, get those back to the people that still had them there, but the rest of them,
well, we did, we gave 2 back, and we ended up with them again,
That's
you know?
another day for the conversation.
Yeah, so,
Well, that's what we had, that we wanted to at least keep you aware of. We have another case meeting right now on some other cases, but so we're gonna ask to be excused, but any other, I guess after the court hearing, this week and after probably the following week, may have more
just
information.
don't really say.
We gotta file some motions, the defense has to be able to respond, so even though I'm gonna start moving quickly, we won't get answers quickly, it'll still take a little while.
yeah, the motion spread was
Yeah, that was the long one, and now that we've got that resolved, that's good news. Not only because we want it, but because now we can start moving
yeah,
into
that's lucky right
the way to solve the problems.
there. That's one of the best, yeah.
Okay.
There you have it.
All right,
Okay,
well, thanks for
thank
the
you, and
update.
we'll wait to hear an update from you.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Glenn, just to let you know, there's a couple of department heads that are having trouble reading the new Black
Oh.
Mountain.
Okay.
You're not alone.
All right,
Yeah.
well, I've gone through them, and I think part of it, there's so much time, we're out there 6 times a day, and I think that's where you really saw a pretty significant cost, his deputies, day and night had to be out there, because there were several horses that had to be fed 6 times a day, and when you're running, all those different water buckets and
This
then
discovery
goats
brought
and
out,
baby
you have
goats
to
and-
finish that same thing.
We give them everything, every evidence, all the evidence we
Yeah.
have.
Pile
I think
of
it's
work and
fair
expense just on that, isn't there?
Oh, yeah.
Binders.
That was a 9-hour job.
I mean,
Oh, and
Two
they-
skid steers and a front end loader, that's 9 hours.
copy and.
Carla, Wendy and Carla did this last year,
And
so.
5 canisters
This
for
is
the
all
solid
over
waste
for-
department, so, and they've been real good, they've done us real well.
Thanks, Cory.
Steve and Brian on that aspect, giving us canisters to get that manure out of there, because we filled a lot of it up, so. There's a mountain of manure somewhere, I'm not sure where it's at, but it's around somewhere, so, yeah, so, if you have any questions, just give me a jingle.
You bet.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Gwen.
Win. Look at those pictures of this thing. It's thick.
Yeah, I had to go out and look at them by myself, because I wanted to be just a ball baby. But it was, that was awesome.
Any other discussion on horses, any public comment? Okay, if
The
not-
sad thing is, you can't sell horses to a can like you used to.
Well, yeah, I know, well, there's a way, they still take them up into Canada.
And Mexico.
Yeah, if you're Canada, the closest, but, well, you and I know what takes place in things like this. But I know it's a little different situation, you know. That- Well, you know, okay, if there's nothing else,
I do have some other business. 2 things. The 9th, next Monday, if there are people who want to come see us for agenda items, I noticed it's been canceled, the meeting in the book. Our conference doesn't start until 1 o'clock and it's just in February. So why couldn't we meet from 10 to noon next Monday? And then the other thing is, a couple things. The agenda for midwinter. There is a portion on, looks like Tuesday, that's on county fairs. And I was thinking that Lisa might like to go and Michelle. And I was wondering if you'd like to invite Lisa, I'd invite Michelle. And then we could we could pay for them to come to lunch with us if they were interested.
That's on Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday at 1 o'clock. And it's a general session, so it looks like it's going to be Billings Metro, Park County Fair, Sanders County Fair, Northwest Montana Fair, and Rodeo from Kalispell, and Last Chance Stampede and Fair. Representatives from each of those will be speaking.
Kind of a roundtable discussion.
I think so, and the video of Montana Fair, county compliance, independent contractor requirements, entertainment carnivals, food safety, fair booths versus advisory groups, emergency and weather preparedness, fairgrounds maintenance, use of facilities by others, social and economic impact affairs, 4-H and FHA, these things all affect us too, so I thought it'd be good for our fair representatives to be there.
Okay.
So if that's agreeable to you guys, I also
What
invited
time is that set for?
Tuesday, 1 o'clock, 1 to 3, 2 hours. And then, before the meeting started, I think you were here when I invited Brian to lunch. There is a charge for that as well. That is for the Safety Awards lunch. And, I just thought I should swing that by
Yeah,
you
it's
guys.
Tuesday.
That's Wednesday at noon. But as the safety coordinator, I thought it'd be important for him to see what can be. Okay, so then the other one is there will be personnel issues Wednesday at 10:30 for about an hour and a half. I think that's important for us since we haven't been doing much with managing personnel. We need to start doing that. And then there's a day for clerk and recorder, so I'll invite Doug as well. So that's all on that, unless you guys have any questions or want to discuss midwinter.
No, I
Okay.
don't think so.
The last one is a question I have from Tammy, claims clerk. The credit card claim was found in your folder at Tammy's desk. She had to pay the bill. She didn't get any response on where it was. So she paid it without that portion. It is a detention center bill that didn't get paid. That means there's going to be late fees and finance charges from the credit card company. She did her due diligence in trying to find it. It wasn't a detention center error that it was taken home, not given back to her, that she didn't have the tools she needed. So her question is, who pays the late fee? I don't think it should be the county either, but somebody has to pay it, and I certainly shouldn't be detention or claims.
Well, there's a bunch of mishap, and I think we talked about it here, and I don't know how it ended up in mine, 'cause it was said that I was gonna talk to Nick. Well, there's no reason I would need that claim to talk to Nick. But it ended up, that day, there were papers all over here, and it ended up, after I got that email from Tammy, I'm like, oh no, no way I have that, well, I better go check for it. Say anything, and here it was. So it was brought up, and it should have been an approved claim.
So we'll have to decide and talk about where the finance charge and the late fee comes from. And I think we need to follow legal requirements. No county work product should be taken home, period. We've gotten memo after memo after memo from Mike Saystad on that.
I'd never taken, I didn't want the dang thing, and it was in there.
Don't yell at me.
I yelled
That's
if I
not
wanted.
appropriate. So that's something we need to do because Tammy's gonna have to have that answer for the credit card. And I agree with her. It shouldn't be given to Nick to pay out of the detention center
It
budget.
wasn't his fault.
It wasn't his fault. So, that's all I have.
Okay,
So I have a question.
okay.
So does this mean there is a meeting on the 9th?
I'm gonna guess yes, although I don't know what's on the
I don't
agenda.
think it's-
I think Brian needs to see us about something,
Well, there's anything on the agenda?
well, because it said it was canceled, but he
Right.
he verbally stated he needed to see us for something. And that's all I know at this point. Looks like there's something written there, actually.
I wonder why he couldn't, well, it was just a public comment, and didn't say, it just is, it was written on here, Brian Holmes Solid Waste, a monthly, just as a monthly update, so that can stay till the next week.
I think you should probably double check with him. He had some kind of a deadline, I can't remember what it was. If you decide you're not gonna have a meeting, then you need to advertise that it's canceled. We didn't do that for the last canceled meeting, and that is a legal requirement.
We did, we talked about that, the meeting would be canceled because it was of the Maple Conference,
Franklin,
didn't we, Elaine?
But we didn't put it in the paper, and that's where,
Well,
Public
that's
is-
what, it's to go in now, is what the,
but the one before that, we didn't put in the paper that it was canceled either. If I remember correctly.
right? Well, we should get those resolutions done, setting our meetings, setting county hours. That's a legal requirement that we're out of compliance with. Again, that's to Sharon's questions of last week. That needs to be done, Franklin. So if you would check with Brian if he has a deadline, and needs to see us next week, then that's fine, but, I think if somebody wants to see us and it's a regularly scheduled meeting, then we don't have a reason to cancel it. We should be open to the public for their needs. To address mail, anything that comes up during the week that, needs to be addressed in public, it's just not a good practice to be canceling meetings.
it's happened every year, every time we go to these conferences, the meeting's been canceled.
That's not necessarily the case. The meeting doesn't start in hell until 1 o'clock. And that's just per the agenda.
I haven't got
Yeah,
a copy of it,
absolutely.
I haven't got a copy of the agenda yet.
You can download it, that's what I did. So that's all I have.
Monday the 16th is a holiday,
Hmm,
President's Day.
that's correct.
Hmm.
I say that's correct.
Mhm.
What do they mean employment day?
That's the general title of the things we'll be discussing. Employment responsibilities, employer responsibilities, managerial responsibilities of commissioners, that kind of thing. Looks like a good one, I think.
Yeah, it is. They do a good job in putting that together.
Yeah, I know a lot of times.
Nothing further, this meeting will be adjourned.
Thanks.